Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, we are diving into something that I know many of you have experienced, that gut-wrenching feeling when a woman you're interested in deliberately ignores you. I've been there myself, and I know how much it hurts when you're left on read, when your calls go straight to voicemail, or when she suddenly becomes too busy to see you. But here's the thing. Understanding why she's ignoring you is the first step to either fixing the situation or moving on with your dignity intact. So let's cut through the confusion and get to the uncomfortable truth. Let me start by saying something that might be difficult to hear. When a woman ignores you deliberately, it's rarely a miscommunication or a simple mistake. In my experience, coaching thousands of men through relationship issues, purposeful ignoring is almost always a clear message being sent. The question is, are you willing to receive that message for what it actually is? I remember when I was in my mid-20s, I was absolutely crazy about this woman named Sarah. We had been dating for a few months, and I thought things were going great. Then suddenly, her texts became shorter, replies took longer, and eventually she started ignoring my messages completely for days at a time. I told myself all kinds of comforting stories. She must be busy with work. Maybe her phone is broken. Perhaps she's going through something personal. The reality? She had already emotionally checked out of our relationship. The ignoring was just the symptom of a much bigger problem. When a woman deliberately ignores you, there are several psychological mechanisms at play. Understanding these can help you process what's happening and respond appropriately. Sometimes, though not as often as guys hope, her ignoring you might be a test to see how you respond under emotional pressure. Will you become desperate and needy, bombarding her with messages? Will you get angry and lash out? Or will you maintain your composure and respect both her space and yourself? I've seen many men fail this test spectacularly by either becoming incredibly clingy or responding with hostility. Neither approach works, and both confirm any doubts she might have had about you. More commonly, ignoring is a way for her to create emotional and psychological distance. This is especially true if she feels the relationship is moving too quickly, or if she's losing interest but doesn't want the confrontation of explicitly ending things. Women are often socialized to avoid direct conflict, so ignoring can seem like an easier option than having a difficult conversation about her changing feelings. This is the hardest pill to swallow, but it's often the most accurate. Deliberate ignoring is frequently a non-verbal way of communicating that she's just not that into you. Rather than explicitly saying it, which can feel uncomfortable or even cruel, she's hoping that her silence will send the message. I've coached hundreds of guys who kept pursuing women who were clearly signaling disinterest through their silence. The result? More pain, more rejection, and damaged self-esteem that could have been avoided by accepting the message her ignoring was sending. Before we go further, let's make sure we're talking about actual ignoring and not just mismatched communication styles or busy schedules. She views your messages but doesn't respond for days or at all. She's active on social media but can't find time to reply to you. She makes vague excuses without suggesting alternative times to connect. She was previously responsive, but has suddenly changed her communication pattern. She responds to group messages, but ignores your direct communications. When you do talk, the conversation feels forced or one-sided. If you're seeing multiple items from this list, then you're likely dealing with deliberate ignoring, not just bad timing or miscommunication. Now let's get to the heart of the matter. Why she's actually ignoring you. Based on my years of coaching and personal experience, here are the most common reasons. This is often the simplest explanation. The initial spark has faded, and she's no longer feeling the same level of attraction she once did. This could be due to natural chemistry fading, or because something happened that changed how she sees you. I worked with a client named Mike who couldn't understand why the woman he'd been dating for a month suddenly went cold. After some reflection, he realized that their last date involved him complaining about his ex for over an hour. The attraction switch had been flipped off, and her ignoring him was the result. If you've been coming on too strong, texting too frequently, pushing for commitment before she's ready, or showing signs of emotional dependency, her ignoring you might be a response to feeling pressured or smothered. Women are generally attracted to men who have their own lives, passions, and sense of purpose. When they sense that a man's happiness is overly dependent on their attention or approval, it can trigger a retreat. This is painful but common. Sometimes her ignoring coincides with the entrance of another man who has captured her interest. Rather than directly telling you she's exploring things with someone new, she might fade out communications with you gradually. I've been on both sides of this equation, and while it's never easy, it's important to recognize that this happens and isn't necessarily a reflection of your worth. Chemistry and timing play huge roles in attraction, and sometimes someone else comes along at just the right moment. If your last interactions included conflict, disappointment, or her seeing a side of you she didn't like, her silence might be a period of processing those negative emotions. She might be trying to decide whether what she experienced was a deal breaker or something she can move past. This happened to a friend of mine who got extremely drunk on a third date and said some inappropriate things he didn't remember the next day. Her subsequent ignoring was her processing whether his behavior was a one-off mistake or a red flag about his character. Some women, and people in general, have a deep aversion to conflict and difficult conversations. Rather than telling you directly that she's not interested or that something is bothering her, she finds it easier to simply distance herself through ignoring. This isn't the most mature approach, but it's extremely common, especially in the early stages of dating when she might not feel she owes you a formal explanation of her feelings. Sometimes ignoring is a power move. If she senses you're more invested than she is, she might use intermittent communication as a way to increase your desire and position herself as the prize to be won rather than a mutual participant. This kind of game playing is generally a red flag, but it happens often enough that it's worth mentioning. If you suspect this is happening, ask yourself if you want to be with someone who views relationships as power struggles rather than partnerships. Looking deeper, a woman deliberately ignoring you reveals important information that can help you grow. We make time for what we value. If she can't find time to respond to your messages but has time for social media, friends, or other activities, that tells you where you rank in her priority list. This might be temporary or it might be permanent, but it's always informative. How you react to being ignored often reveals your attachment style. Do you become anxious and desperate for reassurance? Do you get angry and lash out? Do you immediately assume the worst? These reactions provide valuable insights into your own relationship patterns that you might want to work on. Perhaps most importantly, how you respond to being ignored demonstrates your level of self-respect. Men with healthy self-esteem recognize when they're not being valued and are willing to walk away rather than chase someone who isn't reciprocating interest. So what should you do when she's ignoring you? Based on my experience and the countless men I've coached through this situation, here's what works and what doesn't. Double or triple texting. This confirms any suspicion she might have that you're needy or lacking options, sending long emotional messages. These rarely change her mind and often cement her decision to create distance, acting passive-aggressive. Comments like, "I guess you're too busy for me," only make you appear insecure. Trying to make her jealous, this transparent tactic usually backfires and makes you look immature, oscillating between anger and pleading. This emotional instability is a huge red flag for most women. Give her the space she's clearly asking for. Respect her implicit communication, even if it's not what you want to hear. Focus on your own life and growth. Use this time to invest in yourself, your goals, and your other relationships. Maintain your dignity. If you do communicate, keep it brief, positive, and pressure-free. Set a mental time limit. Decide how long you're willing to accept this treatment before moving on completely. Be prepared to walk away. Sometimes the most powerful message you can send is that you value yourself too much to chase someone who does not appreciate you. Let's be real. Sometimes the hardest part isn't understanding why she's ignoring you, but accepting it and moving forward. Here's what I've learned about this process. If she's consistently ignoring you, the relationship as you hoped for it to exist is already over. Accepting this reality isn't giving up. It's acknowledging the truth so you can make decisions based on what is, not what you wish was happening. A woman choosing to ignore you rather than communicate clearly says more about her communication style and level of interest than it does about your value as a person or potential partner. In healthy relationships, both people are engaged and making effort. While there will always be fluctuations in communication and availability, consistent ignoring is not a feature of balanced, healthy connections. Being ignored hurts, but it can also be transformed into a powerful growth opportunity. Each time you face rejection and survive it, you build emotional muscle. The pain of being ignored can help you develop a stronger sense of self that isn't dependent on external validation. When someone treats you poorly by ignoring you, it often crystallizes what you do and don't want in a relationship. Use this experience to refine your understanding of the kind of communication and respect you need from a partner. After being ignored, many men become more attuned to the early signs of genuine interest versus lukewarm engagement. This can help you invest your time and energy more wisely in the future. As painful as it is to be ignored by someone you care about, there's often a hidden benefit. It prevents you from spending more time, emotional energy, and hope on someone who isn't right for you. I remember feeling devastated when Sarah was ignoring me all those years ago, but in retrospect, her behavior saved me from investing more months or even years in a relationship that ultimately would not have fulfilled me. Her ignoring me was painful in the moment, but it freed me to find someone who actually valued communication and mutual respect. If you're being ignored right now, I know it hurts, but try to see it as redirecting you toward what you actually deserve, someone who sees your worth and wouldn't dream of leaving you hanging or guessing about where you stand. Remember, the right person won't make you question their interest. They won't use silence as a weapon or a strategy. And they certainly won't leave you analyzing their behavior like you're trying to crack some complicated code. You deserve clear, consistent communication and someone who is excited to connect with you. Don't settle for less. If you're currently dealing with a woman who's ignoring you, here's your immediate action plan. Give her space. Stop reaching out completely for at least a week. Focus on your own growth. Hit the gym, connect with friends, pursue your passions, reflect honestly. Consider if there were signs of disinterest you might have overlooked. Prepare yourself. Be ready for the possibility that she may not come back around. Know your limits. Decide how long you'll accept being ignored before you close this chapter for good. Remember, the goal isn't to win her back through tactics or games. It's to respect yourself enough that you only invest in connections where there's mutual interest and respect. Guys, if you've ever been ignored by a woman you care about, you know it's one of the most painful experiences in dating. But you don't have to navigate this alone. Subscribe to Fatal Relationship right now to get access to more hard truths and practical strategies for navigating the complex world of dating and relationships. I post new content every week that will help you understand female psychology, improve your confidence, and develop the skills to create the relationship you actually want. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below sharing your experience with being ignored. I read every comment, and often use your situations as inspiration for future videos. Remember, understanding why she ignored you is just the first step. Building yourself into the kind of man who naturally attracts and keeps quality women is the ultimate goal, and I'm here to help you get there. Subscribe to Fatal Relationship now, because your relationship success is too important to leave to chance.